Welcome to Delhi International Trade Expo 2025. We'll offer countless opportunities for businesses to network, connect with international buyers, and gain insight into the latest global market trends. Hadomi hane timor, hadomi hane produto. Welcome to Delhi International Trade Expo 2025. We'll offer countless opportunities for businesses to network, connect with international buyers, and gain insight into the latest global market trends. Hadomi hane timor, hadomi hane produto.
Trade Expo. Nebeke ho ninia tópico interessante teves, luang, mas bem na fatin relativa ho Timor-Leste ninia processo integração econômica, nomos ho oportunidade desafio sira não insa nação sira serviço mútuo, atubele apoia malu no beneficia e processo integração econômica niang. Iha inglês o hinkalang ita se halo itania talk show ne ho inglês ho tópico ita bolu narang building trade bridges building bridges through trade in the region of South East Asia, Asia Pacific and East Asia. We are how say kuliah iha tetung no inglês troca malu tamba o hinkalang ita iha bainaka ida husi Brunei husi organização Brunei Economic Development Board debeke equivalente ho itania instituição Trade Invest debe ni serviço makatu halo investment and trade promotion husi itane parte itamos iha itania bainaka ida nebeke haonoing la o sona phone ba ita hotu senhor Sidónio Freitas husi Câmara do Comércio e Indústria de Timor-Leste hanesan vice-presidente ida ba assunto integração econômica nian los kala liu iha WTO no ASEAN. So I was just saying that we welcome you to Timor-Leste. We hope that you've been enjoying your time when you are in Timor-Leste for the current event that we are doing together. Welcome once again to Timor-Leste. Our topic tonight, as I have already mentioned to you earlier, we will be speaking a little bit in terms of how do we build bridge through trade, especially in the contemporary context of Southeast Asia, East Asia, and also Asia Pacific in general. And maybe we will be speaking as well a little bit in terms of how can Timor-Leste learn from Brunei as well, since you have been doing it for a very long time. We are only formalizing our process in the economic integration process, as we have already joined WTO, and in some months to come, in October precisely, we will be the full member of ASEAN. So once again, welcome, Senor Sidónio and Mr. Amir Karim from the Brunei Economic Development Board. Okay. I will start maybe with both of you with one particular question, but perhaps just general. We understand that I think trade has been quite strong in the whole Asia-Pacific region, Southeast Asia and also East Asia. And I think that has lifted so many people out of poverty, has helped so many countries to develop well, and that has created jobs, has flourished industries, helped the MSMEs to grow, and so on and so forth. However, we also are seeing growing challenges such as protectionism in some respects. There's also some sort of geopolitical rivalries, as we might have well noticed as well. There's a concern of climate change and how it actually impacts the economies of the region. So, but also we are faced with so many different new technological phenomena as well, such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data, which, in my opinion, I think really help countries to develop itself by using, if they're able to harness it to their own economy. So maybe to start, I'd like to ask your opinion, maybe from your institutional perspective. How do you see so far trade in the region? You may start with perhaps Southeast Asia, and then we can later on develop to others. And I'll then move to Mount Sidonio later on for your own opinion as well. I'll hand it to you first, Pak Amir, please.
Thank you very much. And I think on behalf of the Brunei delegation, we would like to. Thank you again for the warm welcome. I think on behalf of the Brunei delegation, we would like to first, say thank you to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry for inviting us and for having this opportunity to share our ideas and exchange ideas on trade and how we bridge those as neighboring countries. So I guess to address the question on, the climate of the economy now, there's a lot of, I think the key word is uncertainty. So a lot of, protectionism, as you mentioned earlier. So a lot of walls being put up by nations. And I think in an event like this, I think it's tempting for countries to basically withdraw and be reciprocal in response. But that should not be the case. I think more than ever, I think the important thing for us to do is actually to stand united and again power through the waves and strengthen even more cooperation between countries. And again, we always talk about ASEAN or the Southeast Asian region as as a big market. So in on itself, it's already huge economic power, right? So memang lumayan the word, yeah. So we feel like a lot of the opportunities within ASEAN, that's enough to shield us from a lot of the uncertainties on the global scale. So that's why I feel like the strengthening of the economic relationships, trade relationships between these countries, that's something we need to focus on. And we need to uphold the rule-based multilateral trade system to ensure that there's a lot of predictability between the markets, and we can actually power through this wave of uncertainties, right? And I do agree with your statement earlier on the incoming waves of technology, AI. We cannot run away from it. A lot of the countries like Brunei, like Timor-Leste, being small nation, more than ever we need these kinds of leveraging technology so that we can fast track our growth and development. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you very much, Pak Amir. I really share your thoughts on this, and I think I agree that despite the challenges, we have to look more into the positivities It's more than ever that countries should stick together and to try to strengthen the rule-based order. In my opinion, I think this is perhaps the best way for countries to move forward now that we're also faced with so many different opportunities presented to us with the advancement of technologies and other related events that are occurring in the region. I now would like to move to Senor Sidonio. Perhaps your thoughts, Mr. Sidonio, as Vice President of CCITL on the WTO and ASEAN affairs. What's your thoughts, sir, on how the current situation in relations to trade in the region? Please, sir.
Thank you. I think it's an honor to be invited in this talk show. First of all, I think we cannot prevent the current trade flow in the whole world. I would say not only in the region, but it is affecting globally. And of course, with the digital fast-growing digital, without everyone's anticipation, and suddenly it just grew and it catches everybody in the surprise. So makes the world easy to trade, but then makes also the world faces new challenges. And of course, I would say I totally agree that we need to look at the government's policy, need to be harmonized in terms of the region. We talk about ASEAN, and we also talk about Asia Pacific. And of course, we also understand that the trade happens not only within the region, but also it goes beyond the border. So one of the priority probably our head of the state need to look at is creating the environment for policy development in order to harmonize and then to adjust with the fast-growing situation, fast-changing situations, in order to make the trade easier, but restricts in terms of control as well. Because, you know, with the upgrowing technology, we also need to think about the security in terms of protecting the rights of the trade itself. So just happened that Timor comes in the timing where things happening to grow fast. And this is where Timor also needs to, you know, strengthen its own human resources in order to catch up. And at the same time, you know, to probably it's fast. They have to be fast and quick enough to do the reform to the policies so that, you know, to adjust to the situation. And once you are part of it, then you have to be part of that trade. Otherwise, you become a bottleneck to the trade itself. So you have to, you know, you have to be quick on this and changing the policy, changing the regulations, and changing, you know, there are so many things that you need to change. Probably in the system itself, you have to change. You know, rather than before you were working manually, now you have to work with technology. And even your resources, it will be impacted to your even human resources, because most of your public servants probably will not work with technology, but now they have to learn to grow with the technology, so to catch up with the system. Because now when you talk about trade in the world, it's about talking about the technology catching the system. It's not the system that you are building in the computer, but it's the system that building in the clouds. So it drives everybody to work together, and I would like, you know, I think one of the priorities is that all the states in the region, especially Asia and Pacific Asians, they really need to, you know, to have a discussion how to strengthen their, you know, policies in order to grow this trade. Because, you know, currently we talk about Asia Pacific, it's about 4.32 billion as of population. By 2025, you know, we have 4.32 billion consumers in this region. This is a big market. How to supply to this market, you really have to prepare. But how to prepare into that market is, you know, I have talked to so many people in the region. sometimes the demand is very high, but the supplier is very low, and the price keep on changing because of the growing technology. And everybody is well informed, and the suppliers, even from the farmers, they change the price according to the market, international, and they never thought like, wow, there's this logistic cost, tax added, time added, all this supply chain. They never go through the supply chain process, but they go straight to the consumer side. And so they said, well, this is my product in the market. I'm going to sell this because the market says so. So it makes trade difficult. So this is where the government has to come into a clear and, a very clear and precise regulations to regulate not only the process of the administration and trade itself, but also the production from the farmers as well, so that it goes from the farmers, it goes to the consumers. So this has to be, to make a policies, controls, but make benefit to both sides. The farmers, the traders, the businesses, as well as not, destroying anyone on the line of the business. Because this requires a think through. And of course, we are talking about the region. And I think in Timor-Leste, one of the area that we have to think is shape the policy according to the region. Because, we know historically, most of our policies, regulations, laws were written in Portuguese, and were advised by our Portuguese colleagues, but now it's time to change and harmonize to the region. It's no longer relevant to there.
Right.
Maybe this is something that's very serious. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sidonio. A very strong opinion on this matter. I certainly agree with you. I think Timor-Leste will need to align with the best practices in the region to be able to well integrate into the region as well. Having said that, I'd like to perhaps focus a little bit on investment now that we have Mr. Amir here from the business, from the Economic Development Board of Brunei, whose task is also on investment and also export promotion. I would like to ask your opinion, just to focus on investment. What do you think from your side, from CCITL side, that the government should be able to do more to be able to attract more investments from the region to come to Timor-Leste? Please share with us some of your views on this.
Yeah, I think, in these past years, the government has been, from our Office of Trade Invest, doing a lot of promotions around Asia, even some to Middle East and to Australia, to Europe as well. The indicators were not there yet. We really have to, we have been doing a lot of promotions throughout the region. Then why our investors are not coming? I think the question needs to address is the environment, the business environment. And when we talk about the business environment, it is to start with policy. We have to learn from the region. Our main target of investors, who are they? If from the region, Southeast Asia or Asia Pacific, our policies, we have to study it from our neighboring countries. One of the safest region that investors are flagging to is Singapore. And maybe next to Singapore now is upgrowing investors coming is Vietnam. And looking at it also to Cambodia. So we have to learn why we have so far do a lot of marketing, but there are less investors, no confidence to us to come to Timor-Leste. Even though we have a lot of businesses have been visiting Timor, business conferences we have done here in Timor several times, but the numbers to commit for the investment still low. I think one of the things, first, need to reform the policy with regards to the investment protection law. This needs to be evaluated. Second, our system of providing investment environment, enabling environment itself, did not allow us to do the business, probably. Business registration. certification, opening bank account, quarantine, customs, the system, immigration, labor comes in, labors go out. This needs to be evaluated.
Right.
And we need to improve a lot of things, you know. When you talk about investment, and as an investor, when you go into a country, you want to invest, you really make sure all the data you have. And in Timor-Leste, when you come to want to do investment, and the data is very hard to get, and you have to go to each of the, each of the agencies to gather the data. Today we are in the technology, we were talking about technology, but why makes it very hard for me to go to data just to access? Well, I don't know if I want to partner with Timor, and where will I access? Do I have internet here? How much it costs? Electricity cost. Land, where can I get? After getting the land, how can I acquire? We have so many agencies doing inspections, from the health, from the tourism, from the environment, and you name it. Everybody do the going down there with the coming up, every group coming, and everybody pops into your door and said, we are coming from the Ministry of Health. We are coming from, environment. We are coming from the tourism. We are coming from the health. So which one to attend to? You are confusing us. We really have to create, when we say environment for investment friendly, really has to be friendly, very clear, and what is our mission? And this needs to be defined. And we have to come up with an action plan very clear. This action plan needs to be supported. Not only we do the plan, but we need to support it financially as well as human resource. And the last thing is, Timor-Leste needs to understand business is business and separate from politics. When you change the politics, you cannot have an impact to business. Okay. Otherwise, there is no confidence.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sidonio. I think you've alluded to several different challenges, one of it being the bottlenecks in trade facilitation, trade and investment facilitation, the uptake in digitalization, and the availability of information, and perhaps lastly on the hybridity between politics and business. As you said, we should learn from our friends. I'd like now to move to Mr. Amir. Having heard what Mr. Sidonio has said, and I think Brunei is well positioned as a country, since you're only second in terms of we are second, I think, after you, as smallest population. We have some similarity in terms of oil and gas industry. We have a lot to learn from you, especially as you have integrated it well into ASEAN for a very long time. You've punched your way up, even as a small country in the region. So having heard what Mr. Sidonio said, what do you think we can learn from you that can immediately, not immediately, but perhaps help to somehow transition us to be well positioned to integrate into the region? Please, sir.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the question. And I think I echo Senior's opinion on increasing the attractiveness of a nation for foreign investment. And it's not too unfamiliar for our organization as well. Again, similarities like being a small nation competing with the rest of the ASEAN nation even, because Singapore stands out, Malaysia is also a big country that can stand out. So it's quite difficult for us to show to the investors what we can do or give differently. But a lot of the unique value propositions for investors, especially for Brunei, are typically I guess being a small nation, decision making and bureaucracy is probably not as bad compared to a bigger nation. So this is usually very attractive. And obviously, other usual perks of let's say tax incentives, but everybody has tax incentives. Right. And then I think the other thing that also helps attract are actually existence of infrastructure. I think without a strong infrastructure,
investment and trade related infrastructure.
Yeah. Correct, yes. So without that, I think it's quite difficult. Obviously, the rest of the things are a requirement. Like you mentioned earlier, trade confidence for investors. So a lot of these regulations and frameworks needs to be in place, standards needs to be in place, and again, infrastructure, which is also key to unlocking all of this investment. But even without that, also just to draw upon examples, even with the companies that we are bringing this time around, they also have interest in already in investing in Timor-Leste, projects, proposals, but obviously there is a lot of, again, inter-ministry coordination that needs to happen, but that's something that, for instance, our organization, much like Trade Invest here, the investment facilitation aspect of it is also key. So this is where the role of, again, trying to manage different stakeholders to help ease the investment projects and investment prospects. That's key to unlocking these opportunities, I believe.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to continue I'd like to continue with you. Perhaps moving a little bit from both trade and investment facilitation in a conventional sense, because Senor Sidonio mentioned about how can we leverage the digitalization to be able to respond to some of the bottlenecks. I wonder if you could share with us as well in terms of how does Brunei so far leveraging from digital development to be able to address the trade and investment bottlenecks. If you're able, please share with us some of the. As we are also in the process of digitalizing ourselves, we are still underway in terms of developing our e-commerce strategy, but we have already in some phases in terms of infrastructure, both soft and hard infrastructure, to develop our capability for digitalization, which is geared towards inclusive economic development. Please, sir.
Touching on, I guess, digitalization or digital transformation,
yes.
I think for Brunei, we embrace it. Again, even this year, we have the digital economy blueprint or plan, master plan, that aims to actually digitalize every aspect of trade and economy and also governance. So this is something that I believe once we streamline a lot of these processes, a lot of these manual processes, imposing a lot of standards into our digital transformation, I think it will help ease trade, ease business, things like ASEAN single window. So these are also things that are currently also being implemented. So with all of these enablers, right? So this would help ease the business and trade and make it move faster. And there's also the benefit of it being a lot more controlled and error-free. So it really addresses a lot of the common trade challenges that we face with manual systems. Yes. So a lot of it comes with, I think digital transformation is very important. Right. I think it's the key enabler for trade for the country. I agree.
Right. Yeah, because I also agree that I think digital transformation can cut the bottlenecks. I think it's when it cuts the bottlenecks, I think it saves timing, and when it saves timing, it saves cost as well, and it makes trade more seamless. Thank you very much, Mr. Amir, for sharing that with us. I now would like to move again to Mr. Sidonio. We have, I think, identified some of the challenges, and I think we have heard from Mr. Amir as well, in terms of some of the best practices that we could follow. Now, we have, I think, published our industrial policy, and so far it has been known to most of Timorines and perhaps people outside of Timor-Leste as well throughout the region, as we have done quite a lot of trade and investment promotion expos outside. We have decided sectors such as agriculture, tourism, manufacturing to be sectors that we would like to diversify, to phase out from oil and gas sector. I wonder, from your perspective, Mr. Sidonio, from CCITEL perspective, which is the sector, which are the sector among the ones that I've just mentioned that you think is actually more attractive to the region so far? Please, sir.
Thank you. I think this is has been a common discussions that I would really look at it as opportunity, but at the same time a challenge for us. Now, when we talk about the this kind of businesses that we need to improve, I think one of the things is that we need to come out with a policy in order to, to invite this opportunity. When we talk about agriculture, there are so many farmers, but these are traditional farmers. And, to support them in order to become a professional farmers, we need a lot of support from the government. And maybe, as a private sector, we talk about rice. I think I would like to focus on the rice. Currently, the Chamber of Commerce have do a lot of, testing. I think most of the municipalities we have tested, and then, the production have been increased. We come with a very good seedlings. The farmers are very happy with the production because, most of the farmers from 1 hectares, they can produce, traditionally they can produce up to 3 to 4 tons, but now they could increase to 7 to 8 tons per hectare. And so they were very happy. Now, the question.
So this is based on some of the pilot projects that
yes,
currently
the pilot project that the chamber have done throughout the municipality.
So production is increasing.
Increasing. But, the one who invests in the irrigation system should be government.
Right.
And they should look after this irrigation system that could maintain, how to protect the resources, especially water. Now with the climate change is a global challenge. Climate change is not a Timorese problem, but it's a global challenge. So Timor-Leste as a country has to work together with neighboring countries to fight this global change. How? And they have to work together because we are an island. What's happening in Indonesia affecting Timor. And the plastics thrown away in the Indonesian islands probably will bring to Timor, and plastics thrown in Timor flow into the Indonesian islands.
End up in Indonesia.
So,
yes.
this is something that globally, but it impacted to each other. Therefore, we have to face this.
So in a way, not only fish that doesn't know the
Yes.
boundary, but plastic doesn't know the boundary.
We are
does it?
talking about fish as well as what you mentioned earlier. And this is something need to work together with your neighboring country.
Right.
How to work together requires a deep understanding of both technical people in order to recommend to the policymakers, make them understand better how to work together with your neighboring country. We are talking about economy. Let's not mix two things. When we talk about agriculture, when we talk about fishery, tourism, we talk about economy, and we cannot talk about politics. So the policies to create in order to welcome tourism, or in order to investors to invest in the agriculture or in the fishery, the environment of the policy should be friendly with this kind of businesses. This is something that very serious. Now, also another one is that there is a mutual dialogue required between the private sector and the public sector. This has been a challenge. Often, the investment that the Chamber of Commerce have invested in the rice is quite huge. But then you see, after the investment, we would like to continue. But then to access to those things, to the facilities, land title. Who owns the land? The irrigation system that we just discussed, who will do the maintenance? The government has built, mostly has been broken because of the climate change, but no one do the rebuilding it. So we need the maintenance. You need to redesign some of the system because the system has been, old and then traditional, and from the Indonesian time, from the Portuguese time, traditional time, and now we are in 2025. And we are moving in a different era now. The water level has been going down. How to make the water level maintained in order to supply to the farmers? This we need to a deep study. So these studies need to a mutual dialogue between the government and the private sector. Need to validate the studies.
Right.
We really need studies. I encourage the private sector and the government need to sit down, do a deep studies in order to understand the nature, in order to innovate the system, the infrastructure, which should be resilient to environment in order to support the development of the agriculture, the fishery, the tourism. I would like to focus on the logistics, transport. I think we talk about Timor, it's very close, the flight is very near, but the cost is so high. From Indonesia going to Brunei costs less than $400. From Indonesia going to Malaysia, flight almost 2 hours, but cost less than $200. And the flight regularity is almost every day, like Timor. But then the number is a lot, But in Timor, going to Bali right now, one way is about 200. So back and forth is you spend about 400. And then your connecting flight in Indonesia, the system will bring you out of the checkout. You have to wait for some hours. You cannot connect you directly. It's good now we open up this flight from Timor-Leste to Malaysia. But then the connecting flight is good now, but the cost still quite expensive. Okay? But they only fly here over weekends, so they cannot do the businesses over weekdays. So it costs, the hotels here are quite expensive. I'm sure everybody will talk about it. So the connectivity also needed to be improved. And the infrastructure is one. I'm talking infrastructure here overall, okay? We are talking about paperless land border. I think in Brunei has been implemented with Malaysia, with Singapore, and I'm sure also with Cambodia, with paperless border trades. And currently also they have also QR payment, which is no longer required you to change to currency of the local. With your card, just pay wherever you go.
Yeah, digital payment.
This is very simple thing. Now, these are what investors looking for. And this is what they wanted to find, easy place to live in, not very difficult. They come and they spend money. I'm talking about millionaires and billionaires. I'm not talking about those who earn thousands and they come here overnight and go back. Those people are just coming here for holiday and find pleasure and go back. We are talking about investors. We have to think about them. Let's not think about, those spend 10,000, 20,000. That's not investors. They are just coming for pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Sidonio. I think once again we have to touch on logistics, on I think trade-related infrastructure, as you have alluded to some of the issues in regards to agriculture, and I think you mentioned as well again on how can we ease the trade through through digital means. I totally agree with you in terms of paperless trade. I believe this is something that what the current government is trying to be able to implement with the national single window and also other related initiatives. Now, because we were discussing about how can we identify areas to be able areas that are more comparatively advantageous for Timor-Leste to be developed, to diversify its economy. Since we have some similarities with Brunei, and Brunei is also diversifying its economy, moving away from oil and gas, I would like to ask your opinion, Mr. Amir. What can we learn from you in that respect? Please share with us.
Sure. In terms of areas of economic interest, the areas that we would like to develop, in terms of, I guess, gaining on the experience, drawing on the experience of Brunei's oil and gas, naturally we wanted to play to our strength, right? Because we were so long, almost about a century, producing oil and gas.
Right.
So naturally, the next phase would be the downstream sector. So building that downstream capabilities in country, that actually has helped boosted a lot of the economy over the last few years. So we brought in a lot of investment from outside, dedicated zones for manufacturing or processing of the petroleum products. So in a way, I guess, in a way of saying, play to our strength. So I think that would help a lot in terms of maximizing your existing capabilities and at least having a much better chance of success. Having said that, we also focus on other areas that we want to develop and grow, such as our tourism industry, our ICT industry. Technology is very important for us as well, and also agriculture and food. So quite similar to what Timor-Leste would be also developing. So a lot of it, because of that similarity, I think that's where a lot of this cooperation becomes more important. So I think there needs to be, like you say, maybe a deep understanding of what our respective comparative advantages are, and then where we can synergize probably to help add together as two nations, have that next level capabilities that can help both nations to actually enter into new markets or international markets.
So in that respect, sir, you mentioned about moving away from upstream to downstream, which will require quite a lot of capability in terms of value chain, supply chain. In that respect, how does Brunei, I mean, you're also geographically very strategic as well, as you're very close to the big countries in the region, Indonesia, Malaysia, even Singapore, I mean, as a port nation. In terms of value chain and supply chain capability, how do you actually harness it, or what kind of strategy do you have to be able to harness it from the capability of the region or the countries around you?
Sure. Actually, for Brunei side, we face also the same problem of scale, because being such a small nation,
yes,
it's really kind of hard to actually get that competitive advantage,
right,
or economies of scale, I would say,
right,
to be able to be competitive out there. But that's why a lot of the strategy that or approaches that we take is mostly to work together with other nations,
right,
that can again have synergies with by working together with us, so that we can together get that scale to enter new markets rather than going on your own, and then prices become really high, and then you will not be competitive in the other countries.
So the secret is to find what is more competitive for you in terms of advantage, and then to invest on that sector by also harnessing the capabilities of the countries around you.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Now, and I
think I will add some comments on that line. Yeah, I think in Timor we have some policies were well defined in terms of the local content, which is aligned with what you just explained from experiences that you had from Brunei. But I think the understanding of this local content policy and integrating into other industries, specifically in the oil and gas industry, the definition needs to be revised and then re-evaluate. When you say a local content, the definition of the ownership to the companies of local, how you have to define it, because it is not very clear for us. I think this needs to be defined. Provided that you register your business in Timor, you are a local company, which is what we have the definition here. I think we really need to evaluate what I just mentioned. We really have to evaluate all our policies in order to harmonize with ASEAN specifically, because we are going to coordinate as well as also our trading partner, and they are also part of our consumers of the market. We have to really harmonize a lot of policies, and the government has to work hard in order to identify those policies to be harmonized, but need the cooperation and discussions with the private sector. You know, the one who execute the policy is the private sector. It's not the government. The government is building the house, but the one who use the house is the private sector. Really, and the private sector understands the, you know, the detail of the activities, even up to the roof or, you know, the corners of the house. He knows very well. The challenges you face, he knows. And therefore, this requires a deep evaluation to understand the challenges in order to harmonize the policy and according to the region, so that, you know, to facilitate the smooth transition, as what we said. The niche economy need to be grown, especially SMEs. This is very important. You know, the households start from these small businesses and medium businesses. If you know, often we talk about it a lot. You know, we talk about coffee, but we don't know how difficult it is to export coffee. We talk about, you know, I think my colleague, one of them here, talk about exporting, you know, this cengkeh and then betel nuts. You know, when we say we are proud talking about, oh, we are Timor-Leste exporting this product, but how difficult it is the private sector go through with it before the things get out of the port. You know, it's so challenging.
Right.
So in order to reform those, in order to make it comfortable, as what my colleague from Brunei said, we really need to have a good discussion and good planning. And this planning, we should have a very, very, you know, we have a very short, medium, and long term. And then when our changes of the government should have no impact to this planning. And this planning needs to be also supported by the budget, because often we do a very good plan. If there is no budget, then weak in the implementation.
Thank you very much. I'd like to still stay on that subject, but perhaps shifting a little bit to SMEs. While we're doing diversifying our economy, we should not forget that SMEs, I think, form up to over 90% of the whole economy. I think it is the backbone of the economy in many countries. As a matter of fact, perhaps the whole country in the whole world is actually relying on the MSME's capability. Now, in regards to that, as often as we have seen in a lot of the experiences of the past, that once a country is actually entering into a global market or opening up itself, often the SMEs become somehow disadvantaged. Now, I believe Brunei has gone through it, and you have experienced that. And throughout your experience in the region, you probably have seen the same transition as well. What can you share with us, Pak Amir, in terms of balancing between opening up our market, but still protecting our MSMEs and ensuring that they're also able to be competitive enough in the region? Thank you.
Great. Thank you for the great question. I think this touch on, again, something very close to heart with especially the Brunei Economic Development Board. One of our other mandate is to, again, help build this small, medium enterprises, because they are, as you said, they're basically the engine of economic growth. Right. Again, the companies that we are bringing here are also basically under the medium-sized enterprises, and these are the companies that we help basically grow from small companies into larger companies eventually, and then eventually reaching export readiness status. So this is something that we always focus on in all of our programs. A lot of the initiatives that we provide to the SMEs includes capability building, including training, and also providing them incubation and grants and support. So all of this has to be very tailored and very accessible, so that we can help as many SMEs grow. And on top of that, we also help them when they're ready to export, bring them to expos such as the Dili International Trade Expo, and then help them get exposure to international market. A lot of the work that we do basically try to give them as much opportunity that they wouldn't have otherwise gotten if they had gone themselves, because usually they will not be able to find international buyers, they will not be able to get access to grants or funding to invest in bigger machineries and equipment. So these are the things that BEDB always tries to help and facilitate in a sense. And again, touching also on things that you mentioned earlier on local business development. That's also very important. We believe in to make sure that the growth stays in country. So it's not just investors coming in and then you're left with people that has no transfer of skills or transfer of technology.
Right.
So especially in our oil and gas sector, we have a very stringent framework. So we make sure not just in terms of skill transfer, but also participation of SMEs in those contracts as well. So a certain portion of it has to be from a local provider.
Right.
Certain less, I guess we categorize it by tiers. So certain contracts within a certain quadrant that can be provided to SME, then they must provide those contracts to SMEs. So this is how we enable all of this growth for SMEs.
So if I understood you correctly, while you're still welcoming big investments into the country, you're also preparing your SMEs so that some of the SMEs will be able to then be contracted by those big companies to do some of the work that they need. And by regulating that sector, you're also providing support to the MSMEs to be able to be then absorbed by the big investments. Okay, and that is in investment in things like capacity, financial support, etc. Yeah. Okay, very well then, sir. Now, Mr. Sidonium, perhaps this is a good time for you to also talk about how do we ensure that balance now that we are also we are still in the negotiating stage with ASEAN in regards to our integration process into ASEAN. How do we see we should or how do you see that the country should then ensure that we have that balance between integrating ourselves into ASEAN, but also ensuring that our MSMEs are well prepared, well protected, and ensure that they have the capability to be competitive and to be absorbed by the big market?
Yeah, I think this is something that we really need to discuss. First of all, when we talk about SMEs and medium and small enterprises, we really need to provide a lot of assistance. Some of the products that they come into market, I was walking around here, there are a lot of products that coming from these MSMEs, and the quality has to be shaped to the international standard, and this requires TVET training. We cannot just talk about, they can produce, it's good they have produced, but then we have to assist them to grow into that standard. And ASEAN have their own standard, and which is so high, and therefore, if you want to be part, we really have to provide assistance to these, specifically our SMEs. They have to produce to the consumers, but with the standard that the government has to provide. The one who creates standard is not the business, is not the SMEs, is the government. The government has to say that this is the standard, you have to produce up to this standard. And this is through, certifications. And I am sure today, I hope by next month, September, the government will create the certificate of origin. And this, I personally believe that the government has been working hard on it, will come out with the certificate of origin. Because until today, we have been exporting a lot of goods, but then not certified in Timor as the certificate of origin. So we really have to work hard. Not only that, but certificate from the health has to come out from which department. And then once you export your goods, even the production is coming from the SMEs or MNEs, it has to be written in several languages: English, Arabic, and I think in Melayu, in Portuguese, in tatum. And it occupies a lot of space, and it costs. You know, when you went into digitalization to produce these things, some cost you by letters. How much? And, and time and technology. You have to shape the technology in order to understand Arabic, tatum, Portuguese, English, all these languages is to read so that to produce in labeling. And this is a standard. Who? And this is where the regulation comes to regulate in order to produce. What number and numbers the series has to become, and then what barcodes, who controls the barcodes? Otherwise, in Timor now, we have a lot of home industry made by our Chinese friends in their shops. They come out with the barcode, and then suddenly you go into the shop. Who controls? This is where I am saying reform the regulation as soon as possible so that the SMEs will produce their products up to that standard, compete in the market, they know their consumers.
Thank you very much. Very strong message, Mr. Freitas. As we are running behind the time a little bit, I'd like to now ask you another general question for the closing. But once again, thank you very much for I think you have shared with us a very good insight, and I think this is some of the positive insights that I think the government should take into consideration as we integrate into the wider market. I think, but for closing, maybe I just want to ask each of you, what's your I think your opinion that you can share with us towards the next decade. What do you think is the single most step that each of the country in the region should take to ensure that trade remains a bridge for shared prosperity, sustainability, and also stability? I'm speaking of stability because I also believe that trade is not just a tool for economic development, but it's also a tool for political security, a tool for people to live in peace. Nowadays, there is also a term called trade for peace. So please share with us what's your thoughts in the next decade, that how can countries in the region, what is the most important step they should take to ensure that trade remains relevant, to ensure that shared prosperity and stability? Please, I'll start with you, sir.
I think I will recall back my earlier statement. I think upholding the rule-based multilateral trade system is very important. We need to ensure always openness, transparency, and also openness and transparency in trade. I think it's very important, and inclusiveness, especially within the ASEAN nations. And I think I applaud Timor-Leste on your efforts to improve your standards, frameworks, to ensure that you're ready for the trade with ASEAN countries, because we have some free trade agreements or trade agreements that you will be able to capitalize on, that again will require things, as Rosedino mentioned, the certificate of origin, certification of health. A lot of this will be the basic requirement for export going out of the country. So I think that's something that I applaud. And I believe in terms of like what the nations needs to do, it's basically just strengthening the cooperation and again streamlining and making it easy for trade to flow between the nations. And I think just again, like I said, between ASEAN or within ASEAN, it's already such a big market. Senior mentioned 4 million population, so that's enough consumers to be targeted. So I think if we can tap onto that, then we can ride the wave of the economic uncertainties we're facing now.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Sidonio, please.
I think this is.
You look like you've come prepared, sir.
Yeah, I have been sitting here talking in this place almost every time there is a conferences. We have, I think 2 weeks ago, we just finished the one Timor-Leste, Australia, and I came here to say the same thing. I think a year back, I shared the same thing in the same context. And then I think a few months back, I was sharing with our colleagues from Malaysia. They were here, and then soon will be our colleagues from Malaysia as well. And then few months back with colleagues from Thailand. And I think in November scheduled our colleagues from Malaysia coming back. I just wonder as Timorese, when can I see the investors to come to Timor? And I will not ask, but I would ask my colleague, what makes them not comfortable to come to Timor-Leste? I would like to know. If they tell me, I would like to change. And I would like to prepare the environment. Because probably I have went so far to promote Timor, but I don't know what they like. So I have to change my philosophy of thinking to make what they like and to harmonize with my social, cultural of the country and to make them comfortable at home to invest. And therefore, with this discussion, I hope leverage our colleagues who are present here, shoulder to shoulder, shape the trade, make the better policy in order our goods and services cross the region and direct to the consumers as well as the producers. Safe journey for everyone and enjoy the policy.
Thank you very much, Senior. Such a thoughtful remarks from yourself. Maluk telespectadores sira, iha audiência nomos iha live stream idane. Dali datang tatona roham ba sessão do hinkala diang. Interessante teves ho tópico nebe que luan teves ita consegue hetang opinião nebe que furak liliu relativa ho insa ita hameting ita ni relação liuhosi komérsiu. Hanessa ita hatene komérsiu laos det hanessa ferramenta econômica, mas niamos ferramenta estratégica. Não é a tu bele aproveita no máximo possível comércio vai ter desenvolvimento econômico e precisamos hadia bot barak em termos de reformas nós desenvolver ferramenta serseluk nebe que sai nessa input ba comércio nerasik exemplo em termos de infraestrutura halo reforma e política e leis nós for apoio sira apoio sir concreto vai ter no setor privado liliumos ba itania setor privado sira ao nível micro pequena e médio empresa sira nebe que forma estatisticamente nessa maioria não sai nessa fundamento ba economia barak e mundo. Então, o hinkalang ita hetang conhecimento dia klutang, ita hetang lição dia klutang, husi ita ni malu husi Brunei, Senhor Amir, no ita hetang mos hanoim barak dia husi CCITL Timor-Leste. With that, thank you very much, Mr. Sidonio. Thank you very much, Mr. Amir, for your time. Thank you.